You're listening to the Disruptive Franchise Podcast with Stacey Cann, the podcast that celebrates innovation in franchising and peeks behind the curtain of failure, success, and the future of the franchise industry. Welcome to the Disruptive Franchise Awards podcast, hosted by myself, Stacey, and very kindly sponsored by Bookwhen and Make a Mark podcast agency. Welcome to this week's episode. So this week, a little bit controversial maybe, but I want to talk about how in awards, the rightful winner doesn't always make it even to finalist stage. And actually, the people who make it to finalist stage and win at awards ceremonies very often, rather than being the best candidate for that criteria, they just have the right entry crafted for that award. So what I'm trying to say is that if you write an outstanding award entry, you are far more likely to go through because you demonstrate the evidence, etc., than if somebody has done something absolutely amazing and outstanding but has not presented that at all. Let's delve into this one. Now, it's controversial because, of course, I've just put on my first award ceremony as the owner. So Disruptive Franchise Awards. I wasn't a judge this year, but I did see all of the entries. And I was a judge last year. So this episode kind of comes a little bit off the back of the feedback that my judges gave me and what I saw in the previous year, but also what I noticed in terms of like that kind of industry trend at the moment in business and in franchising. So let's say you write an amazing award entry and you have got it completely crafted to demonstrate what your company does, the origin, the stats and the numbers, etc., etc. Okay, that's brilliant. Well done you, 100% commend that, because awards, let's be honest, are all about marketing. Awards are an amazing marketing tool, and yes, they're about recognition, but validation really should come internally rather than externally. So it's a fantastic marketing exercise. That's why I love awards. They give you amazing social proof when they're judged, and judged awards for me are the only kind of awards that I will ever enter on a personal note. So let's say you've got your awards entry constructed, like it's thousands of words, it's shiny, it's polished, brilliant, and you put that in. That is amazing. But it's very much geared towards just kind of hitting the key categories of an award in general. Versus somebody who goes, do you know what? I see that award, let's say support manager of the year or inclusivity champion or whatever. I think that I meet the criteria of that award. I'm going to enter it. And they just list out a few things that give some evidence. Okay. The difference between those two, like the constructed, really well thought out entry versus the I've done amazing things in my business, but I haven't communicated it very well. That's the difference between being a finalist and a winner and not getting any recognition. And it bites me a little bit, if I'm completely honest, because I really want the winners to really deserve it. But as a judge, when you're sat there, you know, trying to go through all of the entries, you have a criteria. Okay, we give our judges a criteria at Disruptive, and they can only score people against the criteria. So if the person who's telling you that they've done amazing things don't back it up with any evidence, they can't score highly. So they can't hit that finalist place. They can't hit that winning place, even though what they've done is incredible. And this is why I feel that actually awards can sometimes really just go to the wrong people. And it's not the judges' fault at all. I'm not blaming judges because the judges are given the scoring criteria. But it is essential that people understand if you're going to enter an awards, let's say whether it's Disruptive Franchise Awards or BFA or EWIF or any of the awards in the franchise industry, you have to provide the evidence for the criteria that they have asked for. Give you an example. Disruptive Franchise Awards are not judged on turnover. Okay, so we didn't ask anybody for their turnover this year at all because It's not something that we judge on. We want an even playing field. But people still gave us their turnover in various award entries, and that's fine if they want to, but they don't have to. But that can't be a scoring criteria because we haven't asked for it from everybody. And so you're putting it in, great, but it's going to be discounted. And I think from a judging perspective, if I wave a flag for the judges, I learned a lot, and I'll talk about that in a second, about kind of how to run these awards. But from a judging point of view, what you're trying to do then is you're trying to sift through like a massive information that you've been given to try and pull out the evidence that actually you can score against. So, for example, if I took like a 3,000 word entry, and I literally printed it and with my highlighter, old school, like went through and just marked out the evidence. If you just put that evidence in, it's going to be better for the judges. They're going to be able to pick out the things that they can give you points on. But if you're doing amazing things and you haven't evidenced it, you're not going to get where you need to be. So the award very often goes not necessarily to the person who's done the best thing, but to the person who's put in the best award entry. So please bear that in mind if you're ever going to enter any awards. I think the other thing about awards and evidence criteria is that I think a reason why people don't do that thing I've just said is because they don't really understand what evidence to give. So I had a lot of emails this awards about, well, what kind of evidence can I give you? What's the criteria? The criteria was deliberately left quite loose because I wanted to be able to have a lot of people enter. But in terms of evidence, the kind of things that you should be showing them are figures that demonstrate success. So from a franchise point of view, maybe that's your recruitment figures or your retention rate or your conversion rates on a marketing campaign, or if it's like a franchise, let's say you've done an amazing franchise recruitment or a brand piece and you've increased your views by 20%, put those figures in. If you can put screenshots in with that, even better, because you're not just picking numbers out of the air, you're actually providing the hard evidence for somebody to look and say, I can see that that's right. Can you do videos? I like videos as evidence, if I'm honest with you, because as a judge, to sit there and read through, literally, I think we had just under 100 entries this year. It's a lot. So if you can put a video application in, or like some video evidence, you're going to stand out. It's going to pop, whether that is a testimonial from your franchisor talking about what you've achieved as a franchisee, or whether it's a customer review, or whether it's footage of, your franchise in action, or like, let's say customer support awards. Like, can you do like a screen recording of all of the things that you have in place for inside your support portal? There's loads of different ways to evidence. Photos are good as well. Anything visual, anything that's going to make you pop versus all of the words. But from an evidence point of view, the more that you can demonstrate, the better. And again, whether that's testimonials from people in your organization, whether that is customer base, but make sure that the evidence that you're giving is relevant to the criteria. For example, we didn't ask for turnover this year. We don't judge on turnover. So giving us your turnover for Disruptive Franchise Awards is not evidence, because it's not something that we score against. It's not something that on its own is relevant. The growth statistic on that, the percentage points, yeah, but not just the figure. So hopefully that helps you out in terms of, like when you're putting together these award entries, because these are things that as a judge, they drove me crazy. They really did. And I'd really, really want every single award that we give out at Disruptive Franchise Awards to go to the right winners. And this is not just something in the Disruptive Franchise Awards. I see this at nearly every single award that I go to. And maybe I should be quiet about it, because I think, in fairness, I write a decent award entry myself, if I'm honest. I don't always make it as the finalist, and that's okay. But we need to make sure that when we're entering awards, that we're entering them for the right reasons, with the right level of commitment, and answering the questions or providing the evidence that we're asked to provide. I think that's so important. from a judging point of view, things that I learned from Disruptive Franchise, so running my very first Disruptive Franchise Awards this year, I learned that we have to have a word count, because what I didn't think would happen was that people would submit thousands and thousands and thousands of words per category. So I gave the judges a really hard time there, and I need to roll that back. I think from a judging perspective as well. So this year we let people give you like a company overview overall, and then we ask for information about the specific criteria for each category. I think that one of the ways that I can improve the awards for next year would be to give more specific detail on the criteria. So I tried to leave them very open this year to help people to choose what to enter. But actually, I think better defined categories and better defined criteria for what we're looking for will be helpful for everybody. So we're going to implement that for next year. And another thing that I learned this year comes back to that original point, that actually, like, I think it's really important to share the scoring system with everybody. So I think that it's important that you know when you're entering an award, like, how you can score the points, because that is what it comes down to. Like, if it's a judged award, it comes down to the point system. So sharing that point system, being really transparent, and then you guys can make better decisions about what evidence you give and whether you're happy with that award entry or not. Now, I'm going to caveat all of this from a winning point of view, and say the very first year that that we had the Disruptive Franchise Awards, I wasn't the owner. I entered the awards. I was a franchisee for Daisy First Aid, and I looked at these awards for weeks. Yeah, might enter that. See how I go. Yeah, maybe. And literally with 30 minutes left, so they used to close at midnight. They don't close at midnight anymore, but they used to close at midnight. So at literally 11:31, I put my foot on the first step of my stairs to go up to bed. And I looked at my watch and I was like, sod it, I'm just going to put that entry in because I've got nothing to lose. So I did this and was shocked, literally shocked, to find that I was a finalist, and even more shocked on the day to find that I'd actually won the category for Disruptive Franchisee of the Year. So you can do it last minute, but the difference was I already knew what evidence that I needed to put in. I already had all of the stats because I'm a spreadsheet girl. I love a spreadsheet. But I already had everything I needed really to just pull off and put in. So I could do it quick because I had access to the right information. If you're not a stat person, you need to be able to prep that. So yeah, so those are kind of that's my bugbear about why awards don't go to the right people always. Some feedback and some kind of learnings from our process this year, and what I'm going to improve for next year's Disruptive Franchise Awards, and some of my own experience for entering awards, lastminute.com, but still being able to win because I put the evidence in there. If you have liked listening to this, if you've got something out of it, please do leave a review for the episode, and feel free to hit the subscribe button, because by hitting the subscribe button, it means that you will get a little notification for the next episode and the episodes beyond that. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Before we finish up today, I'd love to just thank our podcast sponsors, Book When and Make Your Mark Podcast Agency, without whom this episode wouldn't have been possible. You can find more information on both amazing companies in the show notes. If you've enjoyed listening to today's episode, please also make sure that you hit the subscribe button, and I would absolutely love it if you left a review too. See you next time.